Hey friends, it's your 1980 Millennial Bestie here, and I hope everyone's having a good day. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about justice for Nick because I hear so much about it, and I wanted to try and understand here with the commentary crew what that really means because I'm not involved with justice for Nick at all. I've just been observing and commentating on a few activities under the name of the movement. So, from what I understand, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, please. From what I understand, the majority of the Justice for Nick movement does not believe that Nick should be walking free in society because he has been shown that he can be manipulated to commit the ultimate heinous crime. But they do believe that he should have a retrial because his first trial wasn't fair to try and get a sentence that takes him out of prison and puts him into some sort of mental health care facility. Do I have that right, y'all? Correct me in the comments if I don't. So, what I'm wondering is, what would that really look like? Personally, I don't know. I don't know of any facilities like this in Missouri. If there are any, I'm assuming that they're private and probably quite a bit more expensive than prison. Also, it seems to me that he would have to have extremely restricted movement and also extremely restricted outsider access to him because there are a lot of Gypsy Rose stands who believe that Nick is the reason why Gypsy was actually in prison, as opposed to the other way around. So, with taking that into consideration, it really seems to me like there's an element of circumstance to where Nick also has to be protected from society in addition to society protected from Nick. Because the goal here is no more crime, no one else getting hurt. Another thing I've seen people mention a lot is the likelihood that Nick could be institutionalized in some way now. I don't know if that's truly the case or not, but if it is, if that's the case, how safe is it for Nick to be moved from the environment? And that is a sincere question I do not know the answer to. The answer may be that institutionalized prisoners do very well after being moved from the prison environment into a care facility focused on treating their mental health issues, maybe not so much on security. But I've done some Googling on this, and I see a lot of conflicting information from sites that appear to be reputable research sites. So I'm not going to pretend that I know the answer here how it really is one way or another. I'm just theorizing and commentating. So something to keep in mind, though, like I said, is there are a lot of Gypsy stands out there who actually believe that Nick ruined Gypsy's life and not the other way around because Gypsy said that on the Dr. Phil show. She said that she hates Nick for not being more responsible and simply insisting that she ran away. Personally, I believe Gypsy would have started looking for someone else to do it right away had Nick been steadfast in refusing to do it. In my opinion, Gypsy would have dropped him. And I also think that her attempt to keep him from drifting back into the I don't think this is a good idea, let's just run away, was the reason for the constant roller coaster of emotions that she always put him through by threatening to break up at the drop of a hat and then slipping back into her little girl personas immediately after. Now, reading over the court transcripts available of Nick's initial trial and his appeal hearings, it is clear to me that his defense lawyer did not try very hard and a lot more things could have been brought up. What I'm about to say isn't right, but it is simply reality. And that is because Dee Dee had made Gypsy such a local star, she got a public defender who grabbed onto her case knowing that it was going to be famous and that if he worked it really hard, he could ride the money wave of that fame. It's documented in local news from the time that the Munchausen by proxy theory came from nationwide internet sleuths writing in such volume about the case that it hit mainstream media, and Mike Stanfield latched onto it, and that became Gypsy's whole new personality, victim of Munchausen by proxy, and Mike Stanfield made it work. We hear now that he's being paid as our new manager, so I guess that money wave is doing real good. Nick was not famous. He did not live in Missouri. He had confessed to getting on a bus, coming to Missouri, stabbing a resident to death, and because Gypsy, who in my opinion the police and courts were still having trouble not thinking of as a sick little girl, Gypsy wanted to stop her mom's fraud games and be sexy, and that was basically the reasoning Nick gave for why he did what he did. This did not sound like anything anyone was ever going to have any sympathy for, and Nick seems to have gotten the bottom of the barrel public defender because no one saw potential to make a name off his case. And after his confession, there wasn't much public sympathy for Nick overall, not just in Missouri, but nationwide. And we all know that that's something that Gypsy has not helped with. Now, Sheriff Arnott from Greene County, Springfield, Missouri, said over and over in his press release after this initially happened that things are not always what they seem. And in my opinion, he seemed to want to pursue more charges against Gypsy, but the sheriff and police who investigate crimes don't always get a hand in the sentencing or in the plea deals offered and made. When Becca Scoop speaks of her source being disappointed that they had to stop work on their fraud case against Gypsy, I often think of Sheriff Arnott and his words. Things are not always what they seem, and I would caution anyone against giving money to this family. I feel like he tried to warn the world against experiencing what we did in Southwest Missouri. Do not give any money to this family. Now, there have been rallies planned at the Missouri Capitol for justice for Nick and letters sent to the governor and all kinds of stuff. And as far as I know, it's all really fizzled out in drama and disarray. If anyone knows any different information or if any actually happened, please let me know in the comments. Online petitions for Nick seem to pretty much go nowhere, and I'm positive that no one reads the emails sent on his behalf. I'm sure if the people responsible for those emails on the receiving end of the courts were made to say whether they read them or not, we would hear that there are simply too many to review and address and that they don't have the staff or time and that the volume is too great, the complaints are too frivolous, blah, blah, blah. Again, that isn't right, but I suspect that that's how it is. That's the word on where Gypsy's parole is at right now. Allegedly, they aren't reading anything sent to them because it's way too much and way too frivolous. They don't care about online drama unless someone's truly planning a crime. And the bar to prove that someone's planning a crime online is usually pretty high legally, from what I understand. So for the crowd that actually wants to help Nick get some kind of reconsideration from the Missouri justice system, what should they do? Well, I'm not pretending that I have the answers, but here's my view from observing it all. Personally, I think the best bet for any real actual movement on Nick would be to try and get Netflix or another big production company, not the Good Wives Network, to make a series or movie on Nick portraying him sympathetically. HBO and Hulu made all the difference in the world for Gypsy Rose. And like I say about Gypsy, ultimately, Missouri really doesn't want to be bothered or have any other taxpayer funds drained by anything related to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I think if there was a sudden nationwide pressure to release Nick to a private secured care facility, preferably out of the state, and there were funds to do that didn't come out of the Missouri taxpayers' pockets, like for say, if a slick lawyer, again, not paid for by the taxpayers, but theoretically from his show earnings, should he be able to get a deal like this, a slick, good private lawyer could find a legal excuse for Missouri to be able to wash their hands of Nick and transfer him out of the state into some private care facility, again, preferably paid for from show earnings from a deal similar to Gypsy's. I suspect that the Missouri courts would treat him just like they did Gypsy and be like, get out, no stops anywhere, get straight on Missouri fast, don't come back. So Nick appears to have a YouTube channel ran by someone who he communicates with and trusts as NPG Cornerstone Nation for Nicholas Paul Godejohn. Toddy Oneskip emailed Nick and confirmed with him that this is his channel and speaks for him. On that channel, he appears to have made it clear that he doesn't want anything to do with some of the people who are advocating for him. So that's a whole new question in itself. Nick has a low IQ, and as Flawless Nina always reminds us, he was getting a permanent disability check. Should his wishes on who he wants to advocate for him be respected, or do most people think that he doesn't have the capacity to discern who should advocate for him, therefore anyone who cares should do it anyway? I don't know where I fall on that question. It's a tricky one, and I haven't forced myself to analyze it to a definite conclusion that I'm comfortable with, so I just want to know, what do y'all think? Am I missing any crucial details here that can be definitely proven? Let me know in the comments, y'all. Have a good day.